Well, welcome to the Equipcast, everybody. My name is Jim Jansen, and I am your host. And I am really excited to introduce you to some new friends today. I was able to sit down and have a conversation with Sean and Mary Stevens, who started Nazareth Groups. It's a monthly small group that has just transformed the lives of so many hundreds of people. They just give a fantastic glimpse inside these small groups and what they've done to be a landing place for people in their parish before and after the conversion engine alpha and some of the other things going on in the parish. Listen in. They talk about this beautiful secret sauce of how they've managed to create a home within the larger parish community. So take a listen to our conversation today with Sean and Mary Stevens.
Welcome to the Equipcast for the Archdiocese of Omaha. Designed to help leaders to transform their cultures, to embody the pastoral vision, to be one church, encountering Jesus, equipping disciples, and living mercy.
Well, everybody, it is my great pleasure today to introduce you to a conversation here with Sean and Mary Stevens. Sean and Mary started the Nazareth Groups, and I'm so excited. We're going to have a conversation about these today. Sean, Mary, how are you?
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Our listeners now, we always kind of like start off the same. Tell everybody about your faith journey. Just give us kind of like the mini testimony. When did you guys first encounter Jesus?
Well, I would have to say that I was blessed to know Jesus as a very, very, very young child. I had an amazing grandma and mom. And I can just remember, can't wait for my first communion to receive Jesus. And then in high school, I went to a public high school, and I just kind of put it on hold. Wasn't hearing much from anywhere about it. Then I went away to college, and I was really struck by my freshman year course. I began to really remember how close I was to Jesus, how I wanted to be a missionary when I was a little girl. And it began to come back, and I decided to major in theology. I was blessed to go to Notre Dame, and I had this amazing freshman year group of teachers and for a theology class. Anyway, so I went on like this, but again, it was kind of still searching a lot. And I do remember when I was 28, I felt like I was struggling a lot, just really struggling. And I remember just saying, Lord, I surrender everything to you. I don't really know you, God, that well. I had this degree in theology, and I was actually teaching religion in a high school at the time. And it seemed like that was where the Lord did move in. It wasn't an experience at that moment. But then I was also in a Bible study at the time, and these other wonderful women, actually a number of non-Catholics involved, they just really brought me into scripture and into that relationship with Jesus again, too. That was very supportive. And then I got involved in the charismatic renewal. I found a lot of people there that were like-minded in terms of their love for and relationship with Jesus, and really the fullness of faith for me. And so I was continuing to teach religion in a high school, and it just grew and grew and grew, where I wanted to bring this to the kids, high school kids, in terms of evangelization. So anyways, that's kind of my story, and it just grew from there.
Wow. I love that theology degree from Notre Dame. And yet it's his friendship with these evangelicals. It's your own personal surrender that's like opening the door to a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. Okay, Sean, top that.
So I always had a love for the Lord, but I see it as kind of loving Jesus from afar. So I always enjoyed going to Mass. My mom was quite devout. My parents were, the Catholic parents, where we would find a place to go to Mass no matter where we were on vacation. And so that was this is what we did. And we all went through Catholic grade school, high school, many to Catholic colleges. So, and I loved reading the lives of the saints. But when I was in senior year high school, I did start going to a charismatic prayer meeting. People there talked about Jesus like they knew him. Mm-hmm. I thought, I want that. And they were very, very happy and peaceful and enthused. And the sense of the presence of the Lord was kind of thick when you'd walk into the prayer meeting.
Yeah.
So it was really quite remarkable. And someone told me, when you come to know Jesus, you experience that presence of the Lord all the time. I'm like, oh, you're kidding. That would be so awesome. So So I did make.
That's great. I mean, it's sad. I get it. That was part of my story too. But people like, yeah, the surprise that we sometimes feel when the Lord becomes a real and personal friend.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was a senior year high school, and it was the surrender was March 17th, 1977. You know, my name is Sean. It was on St. Patrick's Day. So I feel
awesome.
that my Irish grandmother from Ireland, who died the year before, that her prayers had much to do with the fact that that's when I came to know Jesus. So
yeah,
it's like I certainly date my life to before then and after then. It's never looked back.
yeah. That's fantastic. So I want to begin to kind of open up Nazareth Groups. I mean, both of you have lots of experience in the church, right? Leading small faith groups, just within the church context. Tell us a little bit why you started Nazareth Groups and just what need they're addressing for people at your parish.
Yeah, so Mary is really, Nazareth is very much Mary's concept, and she developed the format, and it's brilliant.
You mean your wife, Mary, or are we talking about Mary of Nazareth?
I'm Mary of Omaha.
Mary of Omaha. Okay.
My wife, Mary.
Not right, just not lost in me. This beautiful ministry coming out of homes, right, called Nazareth Groups, started by this woman named Mary of Omaha.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it sort of dates back to, I mentioned I taught high school, and I taught high school for about 20 years, and we did a lot of small groups during the 80s. And what I found was that it got into a lot of discussion about morality, about the concept we were trying to, but it wasn't really reaching their heart. It really wasn't talking about things that are so essential for this other morality and stuff to make sense, I thought. So I began to think more about, how did Jesus teach? How did Jesus do his small groups? And he really formed community. He lived with these 12 disciples, formed those relationships. And it was out of that really incarnational experience grew the spiritual truths, and they were planted there and they grew.
Yeah.
And so I thought, how can I, and being in a school system rather than maybe a parish setting, I felt like there was a very set way of kind of teaching. And I thought, how can I integrate this into these? We were doing a lot of small groups at that time, but how can I really make this into a true community where I wasn't talking about God, I wasn't talking about Jesus, I wasn't talking about the church, but we were actually living it, in having some kind of experience of that community, and then being able to talk, and bring these truths into it. So it started there. Then I put it on hold. I homeschooled our son, and after he went away, after college, I started thinking more about these groups, because I had 40 groups go through, one semester each. And I can honestly say that forming community versus a small group idea, true community, I can honestly say that those groups, those classes never failed. Where it used to be a little bit more hit and miss, definitely. It was, some groups went well, some didn't. These never failed. And I'm not taking credit for it. It was the dynamics that were there, and it was meeting the needs of these kids, kind of like Maslow's, hierarchy. You have to start with like real food, and then you can add the other stuff. So anyways, out of that, I began to think about, how could this be done for adults? We've been in groups over the years, and I began to analyze why some of the pros and cons of the groups we've been in. And so we tried our own group with this for adults. And that was 6 years ago, and we're still meeting. And then I asked Father Mark Nolte if we helped with Alpha, getting that started at St. Gerald's. And I could see that people were getting to the end of Alpha, and they had formed this community at our table. And it was like, do we have to end?
Yeah.
So
now what?
Yeah, now what? And so I talked to Father Mark, and he said, sure, you can try your idea of this small group for these adults. And that's where it was 4 years ago this month. And these groups are still going. And now we have 16 that will soon be in effect at St. Gerald's, plus the 17th one of our original group.
Wow. Wait, so it started with one. You're now at 16, 17 over how many years?
The first group, it's been 6 years. and we stayed together.
Yeah.
And the other groups at St. Gerald started 4 years ago, and it's grown from 3 groups to 16 now. But
Wow.
those original groups we're still meeting with 4 years later.
Yeah.
And people want to come back. I don't see any it's like, I kind of laugh. I don't know when we could be doing this from a nursing home. I don't know how this is going to work.
Should like reserve the community room again. And
yeah, right.
Wow.
So I applied the same principles that I kind of developed in those small groups to this setting.
Mary, would you talk a little bit about just, we don't have to do this exhaustively, but what are some of the principles? I mean, as you were talking, I was hearing Acts 2:42, right? The early Christian community devotes itself to the apostles' teaching, to the breaking of the bread, to the prayers. And I think the surpriser for many people is to fellowship. And it's like, oftentimes that is the authentically missing ingredient that when you do, then the teaching starts to stick. Then the prayers seem to have effect. Then the Mass and our liturgical celebrations come alive. But fellowship is often what's missing. What are some of the principles that kind of guide the way you think about and form these Nazareth groups?
Okay, well, one of the guiding principles is the concept I heard once at a talk from a healing conference, actually, and it was that people are dying to be seen, known, and loved.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's Nazareth, because it was brewing, we've been doing the groups, but when they said that, it's like, that is it. And not to look at this from the negative, but I've been in a lot of groups where we do it for a while and then it ends, or it's meant to be a 4-week program, but I noticed, and I was noticing things in other churches, because I had seen, I'd seen friends move on to other non-denominational churches. And as a teacher too, I was looking at, why are they doing this? What is it that they're finding? And it's fellowship.
Yes.
It is truly fellowship. I looked, and it's not rocket science. It involved, so Nazareth involves the meal. It involves everybody kind of chipping in. The philosophy was that there's no real leader where you're imparting truth or scripture necessarily, but that everybody takes ownership of this group. And so everybody does potluck chips in, and everybody can develop a very simple evening schedule so that I can ask anyone in the group. I hand it off on a sheet of paper, and they can follow along and lead. So that's part of it. What are those principles? Another thing is that the person is the gift. The person is who God is delighted in. Because I think very often when I've gone to groups over the years, I go somewhat invisible, and I want to learn something. I want to learn the Gospel of John or something. And I do learn it. And I do sometimes, it's almost accidental or happenstance that I might meet a girlfriend in there and we might go out for coffee. But it was kind of it hit and miss again. And I was also in a prayer group type setting, which again, they all serve a purpose. And on our journeys, I think everything is a good stop off place, you might say, as God leads. But I also noticed that sometimes we'd be praying, and it felt a little bit like, if Judy didn't drop out of the group, well, we'd get Stephanie instead. But she's going to do the praying in her place. It was kind of like we were generating prayer power, which there is such a thing as that. But it also kind of made, even in a very spiritual, quote, loving group, the person became somewhat interchangeable. It's very subtle. And I thought, no. What we want to do as a group is all of us for a moment, and that cuts into the format of Nazareth. For a moment, that person is listened to. His heart, his soul, his quirks or her quirks, her funny things, her touching moments are the very stuff of what God uses. And I found that my goal with the kids years ago was that they would realize that we don't have to clean up our lives first. And I found that a lot with high school kids. They felt like they were unworthy in a sense to, I think, know God, or they didn't. That's why they rejected him. And what I wanted to bring, and I'm trying to, and that happens with the Nazareth groups, is it's that very stuff, that very messiness that God enters into. And as I taught high school, I noticed kids would leave the classroom at the end of the semester and say, I never knew God before, but now I do. And I wasn't preaching like I did in the other class.
Yeah.
They were experiencing that God loves me and my messiness. And that's what we try to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
At the same time, each person can be as light, you might say, or as, vulnerable as they want to be. It gives that latitude too.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I think you're clarifying. It's not like if somebody's listening, it isn't a kind of forced counseling session. Okay, everybody talk about your child wound.
Right.
Yeah, that is
right.
good.
No.
But just being listened to, however deeply you want to share, makes an impression.
Yes. Every single person is just as valuable as the other person. Because sometimes there's a tier program, even within the spiritual life or the parish life. It's, and I noticed that with high school kids, that there were certain people that were popular, and then there was the kid who was just getting all F's.
Really? You experienced that in high school?
Right.
I thought it was just me.
Yeah. But it's sort of this format leveled the playing field where by the end of the semester, I could see that kid with all F's was admired by the football player.
Yeah.
And I wanted that to happen within groups. In other words, I wanted Nazareth Groups to be for everyone, that everyone was just as important as the person next to them in terms of their life.
Yeah. So, Sean, I mean, we've been kind of deep diving, I think, into the experience and the principles. Give us just like a quick overview, start the clock at 7:30. What happens at a Nazareth group? Just give us like kind of a quick rundown. What does an evening look like?
Okay, so and it can be during the day, by the way, but generally it's evening. So it'll start at about 6:15, and people come there, and we gather and meet, and then we people are bringing in all the food, so we put it on the dining room table, and then we say a prayer, and then we eat. And so the next half hour or so, 20 minutes, we just eat and talk. One of the things about Nazareth is you never go hungry. It's a good way to gain weight if you're trying to do that.
For all those who are trying to gain weight, we finally found a way you can do it.
Yeah, that's really kind of the ministry. We're trying to get people to get as fat as they possibly can. But then after that, we have this check-in. What the communication in Nazareth generally is, we'll have some just sort of free discussion at the beginning, and not discussion, but just talking with each other at the beginning. And then when we do dessert, but most of Nazareth has a round robin format. So we do this check-in where from 1 to 10, how are you doing and why? And you the leader, the facilitator says, okay, like John, why don't you start? And we'll go clockwise. And then each person will check in and say how they're doing. We found that when people, as the groups get to know each other more, the check-in tends to take longer because people are just freer to talk.
Yeah.
The gift of the round robin format is you might have, like we have I'll call him Bob, a gentleman who's really, really quiet kind of guy. And you can just see how over the years he's talking more and more. Just this last Saturday, we had this gentleman who generally wouldn't say more than maybe 3 sentences. And he went on at not excessive length, but it was just, wow, he is really opening up. So anyway, we'd have the round robin of people checking in. And then the next part of it, which is maybe one of the things that really distinguishes Nazareth, is we have these icebreaker questions, and we do round robin with that. And again, somebody picks the question in the group from this book of questions, 1001 questions. It might be, what was my family's favorite car and why, or it might be, have you ever been present when somebody died? There's just quite a range of questions. And then we go around the circle again, and people share. And then after that, we have 2 or 3 of the icebreakers. Then we go into Lectio Divina. So we have 3 people read the scriptures for one of the scriptures for the next Sunday. Then people just say what speaks to them about that. And it's a round robin format. Finish with some people offer spontaneous prayers, and then we have dessert. And then we finish up. There's an opportunity if someone wants to be prayed over by the group, then we can do that. Sometimes people take advantage of that. Sometimes they don't. So it's something, because there can be quite touching moments, and then other moments that are really, really funny. We had a couple come where he could like double for Rodney Dangerfield. He is just a riot. He's so funny. But after the first Nazareth, he said, "Oh, I thought this was going to be kind of hoity-toity," but he said, "Actually, this is fun, and you can just be yourself." It's like, that's it. Exactly. That's exactly it. It's awesome. Not just fun, but there's this, you just get to know each other. So spinning off of one thing that Mary was saying about, I've been to many, many church groups and enjoyed them. But like, for instance, you can go to a Bible study and you might find out a lot about what people think about the Gospel of John or Matthew or whatever, or Colossians.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily get to know them personally too well. I found the only way to do that really is to invite them and say, "Hey, do you want to go out for breakfast or for coffee?"
Right. But you have to get in a different context.
Exactly.
Which isn't the end of the world. I mean, it's like, great, you get more food and another time, but it's a shame that it doesn't, there's not space for that in the typical small group.
Exactly. So Nazareth offers that opportunity. It's sort of like I never thought of it this way, but it's sort of like you're getting together for coffee or for breakfast with somebody, except that it's with a group of people and there's just a level of sharing. And the icebreakers provide a structure for that to happen. So it works well. Yeah.
On that note, I just have a quote from somebody in our group.
Yeah.
She goes, "It's a Christian dinner party and Bible lesson rolled into one. It's only once a month, so it's not a huge time commitment. It's just far enough apart that we all don't want to miss, ever."
That's great. Now, I love this, but I just have to state the obvious. This isn't rocket science. I mean, we're talking like it's food, it's like icebreaker discussion questions, it's Lectio Divina, and then it's more food. Whoa, have you patented this? It's like, I think you've discovered Christianity. This is such a powerful, again, right? Shout out again to, Father Mark Nolte at St. Gerald's. Nazareth Groups are such a powerful tool in parishes becoming accessible. Like, I love the logo on your website. We'll direct people if people want to go, nazarethgroups.com. But the logo on the website, I love it. You've got a small home inside the church in the logo. And that's like such a beautiful picture, literally like a physical image of what you're talking about. In the kind of nerdy, right, parish renewal realm, many parishes, if they develop a conversion engine, right, a place where people are encountering the Lord in a consistent way and giving themselves to him and, experiencing conversion, oftentimes, you mentioned Alpha, then the question is, well, now what? What happens next? Mm-hmm. Nazareth Groups are a great place for people after that experience. But I know for you all, they've also become a first stop for people in their faith journey when they enter into the community that precedes an experience like an Alpha or some sort of conversion retreat. Can you talk a little bit about how someone who's very new to the faith or to a parish community gets welcomed into the Nazareth Groups?
It's going to be personal invitation, basically. So, like, for instance, we had this, I'll call him John. Okay, so we'll say John. I saw that you noticed him because he sat in the front row, and that's kind of you're forbidden of Catholic Church.
You knew right away he wasn't Catholic. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So we're heading he's in from around these parts. So anyway, so one day he sat farther back, and we ended up sitting next to him. And so after Mass, I said, you're in the wrong seat. You're supposed to be, up in the front.
That's great.
And so we started chatting, and he said that he's been, he started returning to church and he's been coming, maybe for several months, but he said, I just don't know how to meet people. There just doesn't seem to be any way to do that. And I said, You have come to the right place. So I invited him to come to the Nazareth group. And when he heard it was just once a month, he said, I don't think that's enough. I think I need it at least twice a month. Well, we run 3 Nazareth groups. So we invited him to the first Saturday group and then the third Saturday group. So he's been coming ever since.
Oh, that's great.
Because Nazareth, the emphasis is on the fellowship. There is Lectio Divina, and you're around people who are talking about Jesus and love Jesus, and you have a critical mass of people who are already disciples in some way. But also we encouraged him to go to Alpha. So he went through Alpha and he loved that. So it's like you can start out with Nazareth, and then what you want to do is in terms of the formation component, you want to encourage people to be involved in some of the other things that are going on in parish that are specifically formation oriented. But the idea is, you have this home base to come to.
Right.
Yeah, a number of people now in Nazareth, ourselves too. It's like, it's so nice to go to Mass and you see people. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you, because you know them already. Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of fellowship.
Yeah. Well, and more as our parishes get larger, the ability to find a group of people that is harder, and this provides a bridge to feeling a part of the larger community, because you have a small home base that you can connect with.
Yes, and just in adding for another sentence to Sean's, this was John, we'll say, then came up to us and said, because we can become a leader or a helper of a group. And he said, I'm joined a third Nazareth group and I'm a helper. And he said, my dream is to somehow fix up my basement someday and get some furniture, maybe from St. Vincent's, and lead a Nazareth group.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to see this before our very eyes, sort of.
Let's dive into that, because we just kind of said it in passing, but the groups have gone 16, 17 groups. It's really grown. Tell us a little bit. So many of our listeners, formally or informally, are part of parish leadership. They're helping to build Christian communities. Tell us, how did you find and form leaders? How did you commission them to lead their own groups?
The model that we try to use, which is our first choice, you might say, is, now Sean and I originally took our Alpha group that wanted to stay together, and we use them as our first Nazareth group to see how it would work. And it worked well. And so out of that, then we saw two people in that group that we thought might help us expand this. So we went up to them and said, hey, would you think about starting a group? And they said they'd pray about it or whatever. And in about two more nudges, and they said, sure. So they stay in their home group, our group, but then they also lead another group.
Okay.
And so they're seeing it modeled. They've already been in a group where they're learning the format. It's very simple. I call it a cheat sheet. I also have a handbook, 36-page handbook that explains kind of like what we're talking about here, the philosophy and what it's trying to do that's slightly different than a formation small group, you might say. So anyways, that's the ideal way. After they've been in their home group for 6 months, they're welcome to stay in their home group and start another one, but they have two then a month.
Okay. Again, this is not rocket science, right? I mean, they have to experience it. Yes, there's a handbook, but come experience it and then do it.
Yeah.
So it certainly ties in, dovetails nicely with the kind of idea of multiplication,
Yes.
That you have a group and then that spawns more groups and more groups and more groups. And part of the quality is when you invite people to consider being a leader, you want to be discerning about, does this person, they have to be able to be a good listener. They have to have, a pleasant enough personality that people would want to be in their group. Have to have kind of a gift, they have to have a gift of hospitality, because so much of Nazareth is about when people, that they're really welcome.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the hospitality, because I'm thinking, knowing myself, others, right? Still, I think for some people, holiday hosting may still be in their minds. How do you avoid getting overwhelmed with all the hosting?
That's kind of built into, is that in the beginning, we have a facilitator or leader, and then a helper who basically just, is there, kind of like with Alpha, if you're familiar with Alpha, I mean, not everybody listening, though.
But they're like a helper, assistant.
They're just a helper, sort of thing. And they don't have too many duties. And then there's a home host. And so you, like Sean and I, go to a couple's house who's doing the home hosting. They're the ones who get the table, put the placemats out or whatever,
right,
and get the house ready, and they serve the beverages, and that's all they have to do. So we come and we lead, and the helper shows up. So we divide up the tasks. Now we do our original group. We do all three, where we home. So it's possible to do it that way, but the model is that someone else hosts, somebody else leads.
It's genius. Yeah. And I'm imagining there's a, have you thought of a patent? No, but I mean, it just makes sense. Sometimes there are people with very particular charisms, right? Or just a home that is well suited to that. And that leaves the leaders of the group free to not be worrying about napkins and to attend to the people coming in.
Right.
Absolutely. And we have a couple who tremendous gift of hospitality, and they bought a rather large house. And I think part of the reason they bought a rather large house, because they're empty nest. Well, they have one daughter who's still at home, but was so that they could host things like this. So you go, it is ideal. And then they just really, they always go all out. It's just really beautiful. Very, very, it's ideal. It's just a beautiful, beautiful house. So
yeah. And also with this original two people that we had contacted to lead a group, they did. And then now they're each doing 4 groups. They love it. It's like,
wow,
because each group, they say, I've got the time now. And I love it. So, because each group takes on its own personality, and the questions are, everybody picks different questions. So it's never like, oh, we're doing this, for the 6th time in a row. And it's kind of a repetitive feeling when you're leading. It's always fresh and new because of the new group of people and their new stories and thoughts. And then they're also picking different questions. So they love doing 4 groups. And also, with the hosting, for example, built in is this, it's 6 month, we ask for a 6 month commitment, which is just 6 times. But over the 4 years, at 6 months, I ask people and they go, oh, no. We love hosting. I'm tickled, So nobody has really stopped hosting or stopped leading.
So it sounds to me like there's kind of a dark side to Nazareth Groups, in that there seems to be an addictive quality. Right, like people start and they can't seem to stop.
Well, we do put certain substances into the beverages that might have, to make it a little more fun.
Gosh, this is great. And even I just want to highlight that, Mary. You said even at the hosting level, so it's not just participants that are coming back. It's not just the leaders, but even the people who have the most labor, if you will, love it and don't want to give up that role.
Right.
Because some people, I think, do have that gift for hospitality and they get a chance to use it.
Maybe as we kind of transition here, to some kind of final thoughts and practical, it seems to me a lot of times movements like this start and then fizzle. And maybe that's not a fair way to say it, because it's maybe other small groups, other attempts at community start and fizzle. What do you think is the secret recipe for Nazareth Groups? If you had to kind of encapsulate it, what's the secret?
I think one of the things is it's set up, as Sean said, it's all very simple, but it's just a matter of sort of putting it together. People actually want to come. It's like, the one said it's like coming to Christmas and some
family reunion
or something all in one. It's like, it's not, sometimes, when I sign up over the years to do something spiritually minded, and I get a lot out of it and I enjoy it, but sometimes it can kind of feel like a one more thing on my schedule that night, and it's like, but this way it's only once a month. So there's kind of it's not so burdensome. It's not a burdensome feel. I feel like that's one of the things I was kind of thinking about as I developed this, is that sometimes when people get into church, including myself, it's like, it sort of feels like a checklist when you're trying to get through all of the things that you're supposed to do to get to this place that they're talking about. And this makes it just happen. And there's no prep. There's no prep for the guests. There's no prep for the leaders. And yet it's very life-giving. So why it works, I think it's actually meeting the need of the human heart. And also it's person-oriented. The person becomes the light that Jesus is shining. This is like at his baptism. This is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. They begin to see that in themselves. And the mission, in a sense, grows and flows out of that. That I am loved by these people, and there's a format. Also, there's boundaries. I think sometimes I've been in groups where one person monopolizes the conversation, and I feel like I'm getting choked or something. It's like, and even as a leader, like, how do I manage that? And then somebody else isn't talking at all, and this is already built in, that there's enough boundaries to keep it from going south, you might say.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in with,
Okay.
I think that the lack of, that you don't have to prepare, except for the home host, it's really nice. And there's certainly a sense of the Lord being there, but there's a pretty light quality to it that's just, it's just enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it's just easy and fun.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And yet it's also, there'll be tears too at times, someone will be touched by something they're sharing. And so it just has enough of those different kinds of experiences that it's not too light where it's like I'm kind of sort of feeling like maybe I'm wasting my time. It's on different levels.
Yeah.
One of the things that contributes to that, I was just thinking, is that so you can have different people. You keep passing the book around so different people choose the icebreakers. And that's one of the ways you get to know, speaking as a psychologist, like the individual differences, because someone will pick a question and sometimes they'll pick it and I'm like, oh, geez, that's not going to work very well at all. Well, one of them was, have you ever been present when somebody died? I'm like, oh, geez, that sounds pretty heavy. And that was powerful. And then somebody else might choose a very different question that will, again, you'll think, oh, I don't know if that's going to go anywhere. And it turn out well. And in a way, once the group gels and you get to know each other, you could probably ask, what do you think of those tiny things they have at the ends of shoelaces, and the little, and it would probably end up being, kind of life-giving and entertaining because it's just a group that really cares about each other and enjoys being with each other.
And also anybody can participate. That's one thing that's really beautiful. Like you mentioned, the one fellow who just only said a few words, seemed really self-conscious. And what we find is that anybody can be in a Nazareth group, or you could be a very learned person with a lot of theology or whatever, or a lot of maturity in their faith. And they can be side by side, all within this mixed group, and everybody, it works for everybody, it seems, and that's beautiful because my vision, my dream would be that the larger parishes, the motto is find a home in the church. Wouldn't it be beautiful to have a parish where everybody, in a sense, was in a group of 10 where they felt there was a home? And then they could meet on Sundays and it's like, whew. So that is almost like a mosaic, taking the parish and creating a mosaic, and a light shines through each piece of glass. Each group is alive in there with their own, because each person in there is important.
You've both made this sound so attractive as you tell the story and just give anecdotes. For those who are listening, okay, I'm sold. What's the first step if somebody wants to cultivate a Christian community like this, and maybe even particularly a Nazareth group? What's their first step?
I would say go to our website,
which is nazarethgroups.com.
Yes. And there you can look it over again. And then we have a couple videos there that you can see more clearly what a group might look like. And then there you can sign up on the website. And then that will be filtered either to somebody at St. Gerald's if you're in that parish, or if it's another parish, on keeping track and trying to bring this to other parishes.
Fantastic. So first stop, nazarethgroups.com. There you can sign up, you can find out more information and find out about how, at least some first steps to bring it to your own parish.
Yes.
And there's a leadership training format that periodically, when we have enough people interested in starting a Nazareth group, then they'll gather and then they'll be led through, kind of the do's and don'ts and just how it works, how to facilitate well, and emphasizing it's, the round robin and not to be counseling each other or, get into that kind of thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. We do have another principle is no crosstalk. When somebody shares, just let it be and we go to the next person. Right. And so it stops people from
fixing their neighbors.
Their problems.
Right,
exactly. Right. When I can't fix my own, I can fix yours though. Right. Sort of thing. So there's a leadership training that's one evening. And then also we have a small group where we get your group together if you have it already in place, like your alpha table, or if you get few people together from a parish that are interested in starting one. And I or one of the core team, we have a core team of about 5 people that would come in and facilitate the first night. Then when they do their first evening themselves or group gathering, one of the core team will be present, and then they can give encouragement and feedback or anything they want. And then they're on their own. And the first 6 months, the plan is that I or one of the people would call and check in and see how their group is going for 6 months. So
wow,
kind of
fantastic. So there's a lot of support. This is not, I mean, if someone is interested, there's a handbook and a guide and some training and support to really be able to start this off well. Sean, Mary, thank you. Thank you for your service to the church. Thanks for being with us today to share your story.
You're welcome.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes.
All right. Well, everybody, if you've enjoyed today's episode, wait, if you're driving, don't do this right away, but share this out with somebody. I guarantee someone who loves the church, who's part of a larger parish or Christian community, who's hungering for something just like this. So I encourage you, share this out with your friends. Again, Sean and Mary, thanks for being with us, and thanks for listening, everybody.